Hey guys. So on Wednesdays, we have been using our class time together to have some podcast time. But today, I also want to make sure that we have some time to continue out of my mind. So we're going to finish the chapter that we started on Tuesday. And your goal is to follow along. I know I say that every time, but it is so important that you actually follow along in the book while I'm reading. Again, multiple reasons. It's going to help with fluency. It's going to help with your writing. It's going to help with your spelling. It's going to help you with a lot. So please take out your book, open up to page 100, and let's see, we left off on 160. And so at this point, Melody had just gotten home. She was really upset because of what Mr. Dimming had said during their practice for the Whiz Kids. And Mrs. V just got the phone call from Catherine explaining everything. So Mrs. V said with determination that they are going to get her on the quiz team, the Whiz Quiz team, and they're going to work their hardest to make sure that she's in a place where she can qualify for her brains, even though she does have those other disabilities. So I'm going to pick up at the bottom of page 160 because we did read 160, but let's just kind of reignite what was going on in our minds. They won't let me be on the team, I typed slowly. Oh, yes, they will. They'll want you all right. They'll need you, Melody. You are going to be their secret weapon. And notice how I emphasized the word need there because it's written in italics. You think? I know. Now let's cut out all this fake feeling sorry for yourself and get started on studying. We have 1 week. I'm the coach and you're my athlete. Get ready to sweat. Sweat stinks, I told her with a laugh. So let's get stinky. But first, you are going to pick up every single one of those cards. Remember when we read yesterday, Mrs. V had just put all those words on her tray and she swiped them off to the floor. So that's what she's talking about. I knew not to argue. She took me out of my chair, set me on the floor, and left the room while I pulled the cards that I knocked down into a messy pile on the floor. Penny helped. Then Mrs. V put me back in my chair, and we got to work. She was going to be a tough coach. How is the test set up? She asked me. A, B, C, D, I tapped. Multiple choice? Wonderful, piece of cake for you. I wasn't sure about that, but I didn't disagree with her. She went to her computer and found a web page that listed every U.S. state and capital. I hope we're all making a text to self connection right now, since that's what we're doing in 5th grade as well. Did those in school, I told her. Great, so we'll do them again. I fake groaned. Mrs. V then looked up the capitals of all the major countries in the world. Gee, there sure are a lot of countries. But when she read them out loud to me, I had the info stuck in my head. What's the capital of Hungary? She demanded. I knew the answer was Budapest before she even gave me the 4 choices. Accra, Berlin, New Delhi, Budapest. I pushed D, of course. Mrs. V didn't stop to cheer. She kept going. I correctly answered that Tokyo was the capital of Japan. Oh boy, here we go. Some harder words. I might not pronounce these correctly. Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. Ottawa, the capital of Canada. And, I know this is in a lot of TV shows I watch. Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Sorry, guys. I probably butchered the pronunciation of those. She quizzed me until Dad came to pick us up. As Mrs. V stuffed Doodle and some unused diapers back into Penny's bag, she explained briefly what had happened at school and what she planned to do about it. What we were already doing. Are you sure? Dad asked, glancing at me. Maybe we're setting her up for failure, and she'll be hurt even worse. I am absolutely positive, Mrs. V insisted. Can Melody stay a little longer to study? I'll give her dinner and bring her home in a couple of hours. That will give you some one-on-one time with Penny. You cool with that? Dad asked me. Yes, 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 I typed. I want to do this. Go for it, my Melody, Dad said. He gave Mrs. V a thumbs up sign and left with Penny. After dinner, we moved on to science. I learned that the bones in the leg are the femur, the tibia, the patella, and the fibula. Why can't they just call them something easy like knee bone and skinny leg bone? But I memorized them. I learned that insects are arthropods and that they have tibias too. The study of insects is called entomology, Mrs. V said. That gives me an idea. Let's learn all the words that end in ology. I put my hand over my head and pretended to groan. But deep inside, I was really jazzed. Which word means the study of words and their meanings? She asked me after we had reviewed a very long list of ology words. Bibliography, archaeology, histology, lexicology. I thought for a minute. I knew she was trying to trick me. Histology sounds like history. But for some reason, I think it has to do with skin. And bibliography has to do with books, not words. I typed in the letter D. This time, she did cheer. Let me get you home, Melody. Top athletes need their sleep. We'll do some more tomorrow. I grinned at her, tired and energized at the same time. Mrs. V had called Catherine and explained the situation, told her to stuff information into my head, along with macaroni at lunch. So the next morning, Catherine, of course, jumped right in. While we were in room H5, Catherine hooked me up on the earphones. I listened to an old audio cassette on volcanoes. Ooh, some of you guys might be interested in that. It was scratchy and skipped a little, but it gave me information. Volcanoes were named for the Roman god Vulcan. If you're into Greek mythology, Percy Jackson, all of that stuff, that could be something you look into. I could have figured that one out myself. I found out about lava and ash. I learned about how the whole city of Pompeii, holy text-to-self connection, guys, got covered up when Vesuvius erupted. Surprisingly interesting stuff. I listened to tapes on Australia and Russia, on constellations and on the planets. You learn anything from those oldies but goodies? Catherine asked as she slipped in another tape for me. It was on diseases. Info always good, I typed. I feel you, she replied. Are you still upset about what happened in Mr. Dimming's class? Deleted the memory. Need room for facts. I took the time to type. She gave me a thumbs up. I'm a little scared, I admitted. Suppose I mess up. You can do this, Melody, she said sternly, like seriously, as she adjusted the earphones. You certainly have enough smarts to be on the team. Go away while I take the test, I typed. Keeps Claire quiet. Gotcha, Catherine said. She held her hand up to slap my palm. It wasn't much of a slap, more like a mushy grab, but we were on the same page. Except for lunch and recess, I listened to tapes and worked with Catherine the rest of the day. She quizzed me on facts and dates and kings and math. That might be hard for me. Words float easily into my head, but numbers seem to sink to the bottom like rocks. I don't know why. Maybe you guys can make a connection to that as well. Think about if you're really good, you feel like you're a strong reader, you're really good at writing and spelling, but for some reason math just doesn't click. That could be a good connection. Let's do it again, Catherine said gently as I got mixed up on a math problem about trains and their speed. Nobody rides trains anymore. Who cares? But she kept at it until it made sense to me. I discovered that if I make numbers into a picture story in my mind, like visualizing almost, the answers come easier. I changed the figures to words. Magic. Instead of going out for inclusion classes, I shook my head and told Catherine I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay and study instead. Evidently, I wasn't missed. Nobody sent a frantic message to room H5. wondering why Melody wasn't in class today. Nobody peeked their head in the door to see if I was absent or sick or maybe having a convulsion in the middle of the floor. Nobody seemed to notice at all. Okay, that's kind of sad. So that is the end of chapter 18. I'm going to have a little assignment for you on Google Classroom relating to what we just read. So please make sure that after you've listened, you check that. It's just a quick little short check-in on what happened in this chapter. There's no magic mystery word today. Sorry to disappoint. But let me know if you have any questions on that chapter, and we'll discuss it tomorrow. Bye, guys.